Hello and welcome to Life Talk Burrito. Bear with us today. We're having some technical difficulties, but you're sure to get some good value no matter what happens with the internet. So, Shreyas, would you like to introduce our special guest today?
Thank you, Michelle. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our latest episode of Life Talk Burrito. We have a very special guest with us, Kelly Robinson, owner of PKR-Panna Knows, and she is a technical recruiter. And we will be talking about Kelly's life personally, as well as offer you some tips on all things about hiring and recruiting. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I love the name, the Life Talk Burrito. That's awesome. It's one big burrito of life, right?
It sure is. And we will be talking both your personal as well as the professional aspects of how you have been able to come out of your challenge, the lessons you have learned. And we do hope that it inspires someone in the audience who is tuning in. And we will pick up any audience questions as and when we get some. So to the audience, wherever you're tuning in from, please do share your location, what time it is, so that we can greet you the proper way. And it is 9:30 over here in India, and I think it is about 12 in the afternoon where Kelly is, and 11 in the morning from where Michelle is joining us. So Kelly, if you could go ahead and give us an introduction as to what you do, who is Kelly, and what does PKR-Panna Knows cater to?
That's a lot. All right. So I have a company called PKR-Panna Knows, as Shreyas has said. We call it PKR for short because no one knows how to pronounce Panna. They say Panna, which I think is just natural, right? So what we do is we help companies to attract and retain talent. So we do the recruiting, we build process and structure and strategy to ensure that we're hiring the right people and that they can actually keep them, because retention really starts in recruiting. It's a give and take, right, with the hiring team and the onboarding and training, but it starts in recruiting. We've got to know exactly what the person should, come with or look like as far as skills and background and industry and all kinds of things as far as attributes, character, things like that. So that's what PKR-Panna Knows does. Panna is a Pali word, which is like an Indian Sanskrit language, and it means wisdom. Oh, that's my sister. Hi, Stace. It means wisdom. So wisdom means learning through experience. So when I came up with the name, it's because of this. I love drinking this water. Like, I'm that person that's going to be drinking the water in the restaurant when everyone else says, I'll just take the tap. I'm like, oh no, do you have aqua panna? So I became into panna, and that's how I started looking it up. It's also like an Italian dessert, but that's not what it means. So wisdom means learning through experience. So wisdom knows, right? So that's how I got the name. And I started my company, I guess, about 2 years ago. What was the other question, Shreyas? I got off track. It's typical of me.
Well, you gave your professional side, so let us in on your personal side as well. Okay.
So I am a single mother. I have a family of 6. I'm one of 4 children. I'm the third in line. My sister Stacy, that's on, is the second in line. So we're both middle children, except for I think I'm the real middle child. Always like needing the attention, that kind of thing. So I come from growing up in a family that was very family oriented as far as sports and church and things like that. My son is 11, and he's in like a virtual part. It's a hybrid, but they're there 4 days a week now, at least in school. So he's home 1 day a week. So that's been interesting. But they just started the 4 days last week. So he was really, virtual for a long, long time. So that's who I am as a single mom, right? I run a company. That's really who I am. I love to exercise. I love to eat healthy. That's me in a nutshell.
I love the way you say. So were you in the middle of saying something?
No.
Okay. I just love the way you say second in line and third in line. It just feels like you're treating yourself as royalty, which is kind of interesting.
It's actually the opposite.
For sure. And I hope the audio is coming in because I can hear you well. So, Robert, please let us know if you're able to listen to us because I'm quite sure I can listen to Kelly and what she's saying.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm having the internet issue, I think, because I'm the only one that's kind of I can see myself lagging. Hey, Nick, I just talked to Nick for an hour this morning on his way to work. And I was on my way home from I went for a girls' day yesterday to the beach to see some girlfriends. So I'm just driving home this morning talking to Nick.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Nick. While you're driving, please do drive safe. And yeah, thanks for being here. So, Kelly, you talked about being a single mom and having to take care of your son and also at the same time start your business, which is going real strong from the looks of it. So what challenge did you face primarily, coming out of that divorce and then eventually motivating yourself to start your business?
Yeah. So I've had a lot of kind of trauma in my life in the last 5 years. I had my father pass away, and we watched him die knowing he was going to die. That was really hard, but it was also amazing to be able to be there with him and talk to him and share everything that we wanted to share. But he was kind of the glue of our family. So that was a big loss, and our family is definitely different now. And then I had a divorce. I went through a divorce, which was more of a trauma for me from a parent standpoint, not from my feelings. I was happy with the decision. It was my decision. I was happy to move, but worrying about my son at that time is really hard because they're little and he's 11 now, but he was 6 at the time, and he couldn't really verbalize what he was, how he was feeling. And he didn't know, is this normal? Is this not normal? He's just a little kid. So that was really hard because I was always worried about him and how he was thinking about things and thinking about himself, which is really important. So that was another trauma. And then I got fired from my job after 13 years of being I was the managing partner for the company. And it was a $5 million like boutique kind of recruiting firm, but I did everything there. And, I had all the clients, everyone in the company, reported into me, and I put my heart and soul into that company. So losing that was like a death. And it's been 2 years and I still think about it a lot, not because I miss it, because I don't miss it at all. Not at all. My company is like way far beyond. I try to wrap my brain around the coldness of how it happened. So that's very difficult for me. So those are some big challenges. And then starting my company. I got fired on a Friday morning by a phone call at 9:30 in the morning. And by Monday, I was like, I got my name, I got my company name, I got everything, I got my LLC, I started getting everything, bank account, I started doing all of this stuff. But it's hard to start a business. And I wanted to start a business in I thought maybe training on, training recruiters. And anyone who's ever started a business knows that your company is going to evolve over time. You've got to evolve with it, and you've got to go with it, and you've got to listen to the market. What is the market telling you? They're telling you what they need. So shortly, probably 6 months in, I kept having people say, would you do my recruiting? Would you do my recruiting? And finally, one of my coaches was like, just do it. Just say yes and figure it out. I was like, well, what do you mean? I don't want to do recruiting. And they were like, no, go get people to do it. And I was like, what? All right. So I did it. Not always a good outcome with the clients, but getting through some of those people, some of the team members I had to hire, because I had to hire on 100% commission. I didn't have any money until we closed the deal, So that was fascinating, working with 100% commission recruiters. It doesn't work so well, because they need to feel like they're going to get a hire to put any time and effort in. So very quickly, within probably a year, I realized I have to pay people up front. So I'm going to have to put more money into this company. And that was the best thing that I ever did, because they're paid to produce and they crush it. And I was able to hire really strong people. Now I have, salaried people. I have a business partner. So I learned a lot through the process of building a company, 1,000 things. You have to spend money to make money. The first thing that you should do is, like Scotty Schindler says, duplicate yourself. So as soon as I hired my business partner to run service delivery, so I can go out and run the business, but also the marketing and the sales, that was the best thing I ever did, because then you can grow. You can bring on new business and still grow. And I didn't want to be a solopreneur because I was afraid I would get stuck in a rut where, you get your business, you service that business, and then because you've been servicing that business, you haven't been able to build. So that has been really amazing. That's a big challenge that I did that. I hired Nicole in, I think, June or July last year, first week in July. And it's the best thing that I ever did for the business and for myself. So it was a big hurdle. You're changing, you're moving on, you're trying to get through. COVID was like 2 months of no one doing anything. Everyone didn't know what was going on. So they said, stop, just hold on the hiring. That was a big challenge, but my head never, my confidence never stopped. Like my head never said, my head was always like, I didn't even think of like, oh my gosh, what if this implodes? It just never even came to my mind, which I think when I look back retrospectively, that's really cool that the confidence was there, that I never once thought I was going to close the door. That was really neat. I just had so much confidence in what I was going to do, what I was doing. And now we're like, really, we've already in 3 months made our entire revenue for last year. And we had a great year last year. So that is, fingers crossed, that's good stuff. We have amazing clients. Being an entrepreneur, I can pick my clients. So I fired a client before because it was they just didn't work with me in the right way. And now that I don't have someone else to answer to, I don't want to have to service clients that don't feel good. It's not rewarding. And why would I want my team to go through that? So that's been really neat. Managing my team has been amazing, because in my old job, I had 45 direct reports. That's a lot. And one of my favorite things to do is coach and train and be able to see people and really like connect with them and support them, advise them on recruiting, right? On the process and what the business is doing. And it was hard to do that when you have that many people. But I also had someone else telling me how things should be done. So this way, and by the way, a lot of my people now that I have come back to me. I hired them before and they came back to me, which is phenomenal. Especially because I was more rigid because I had to be. It was like someone else's company. Now I'm like, there's no rigidity at all. So they're really loving it. And I kind of do this, like, we have a policy of no policies. Like, you take as much time off as you want. I don't care. You're an adult. You work when you want. I don't care. I'm trusting you. You want to get your nails done, your hair done. You want to go to your kid's school. You want to go exercise in the middle of the day. I don't care. You're an adult. Be productive. So if you hire the right people, they will do that. They know how to work autonomously, which is great. All right, I'm talking too much. What?
I want to go back because you kind of glossed over, I think, one point in your life that was, a huge pivot, that 9:30 a.m. phone call that you got on Friday, and you had a decision and you took, I think, really the bravest route, where a lot of people would have been, okay, now I got to find a job. They didn't look at the possibilities. And I think it took a lot of bravery, a lot of courage, a lot of self-confidence to do that, to say, I'm opening a business. So I just want to give you a lot of kudos for that. And people need to realize that they do have choices, right? So if you didn't make that choice, where would you be today? Probably not as happy. And not only that, the way you are impacting people with your business, just listening to you this last couple minutes talking about the people you hire, the free reign, free will they have in working for you because you trust them, that is so rare. And just thank you for sharing that. Thank you for making that decision and making such an impact on everyone.
Yeah, that was, what I had been thinking for a while. The next thing I'm going to do is I've got to do something on my own, whatever it is. And so, and we were thinking about selling the business. So I had been thinking about that. So just, running a company, it's hard to go and find a job when I know I need constant change, constant challenge. I need to be learning. I need to be really hands-on. That's what I need to do to keep myself going and motivated. And I stayed at that company for so long because it was a small company. There was a lot of opportunity for me, and it was a consulting firm. So I was able to work in so many different industries, environments, different positions, different people. I got to learn a lot. If it was like some kind of corporate recruiting or something, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I would have been bored after a year and looking for something new. So I was lucky enough to stay somewhere where, before I was managing the company, I had a lot of opportunity to learn and be challenged. That's really important to me.
You shared some great points, and almost being in the same situation as you a year back, I don't know how difficult it was, having those judgments from friends because they wouldn't understand why you're making that decision. So what motivated you to start your own business, and how did you overcome those judgments?
Well, so a couple things on there. What motivated me was I'm a single mother, so I need to work. Or wasn't an option to not work. And I also felt really passionate about what I could offer. And I knew I had a big network, and I knew I was smart enough and strong-minded enough, which sometimes gets me in trouble, but, strong-willed, and was going to be there was never a lack of confidence there. Not in a work sense. meaning I felt good about what I do, what I know as a professional, leader in recruitment. So starting my own business, I think when I would tell people, I was so confident, no one was questioning me. I didn't have that. The responses were, oh, that makes sense, because everyone knew I was running that company for so long with an absentee CEO. So they knew that. So there wasn't, I didn't get that kind of pushback because they saw it as a natural progression for me. And I think the way that I relayed it was with confidence, if that makes sense.
That actually makes total sense, because once people really recognize your efforts, they see your strengths, I think some will definitely support you, and some will have this knee-jerk reaction because you're doing something which is totally not what they expected. And I'm so glad that it worked really positive for you, because in my case, I think it's all about the way you show your experience. I'm just starting my corporate career in a few weeks, so that might be one of the reasons why I received so many judgment from my friends. But it's totally understandable from what you just explained. So this brings me to the next point, which is the role of your family in supporting you. So how was your family? How did they receive you being fired and then you making that decision to start afresh and start your own business?
My family's pretty, as I see it, my sister's on, she might see it differently, but at least from my perspective, highly disconnected. So it's we have there's nothing there, just to give you some clarity. Like, there is no support. It's just the way that we are. We're kind of tough and stubborn, and I can text things to say, like, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. Sometimes no one even responds, or I get like a little thumbs up. No one's really usually that excited about it, or like, ooh, that's awesome, how can I support you, or nothing. That's normal. I don't expect that. It's just something that I'm aware of. So my son is extremely supportive. He's always excited about it. My ex-husband's extremely supportive, and he always is like, I knew you had that in you. Like, so I do have that. I also have some friends that are highly supportive, and they're always like, I can't believe you're doing that. Like, you had, like, just yesterday we were walking on the beach and my girlfriends are like, you have like employees? I was like, I have employees. Like, I have people I'm paying salaries, 3 of them. Like, it's pretty cool. And they're awesome, and it's so fun. So it is neat to have that support where it's very positive. And I think the folks that maybe have negative thoughts, they just don't share with me, which is good. Or maybe they don't have any negative thoughts. I don't really know, because I don't hear that. I don't hear that side.
Thanks for sharing. So just to add variety, Michelle, I'll just come to you because you're going through certification for Incredible Family, if I'm right. So what are your thoughts on how family can really support, or in some sense, probably demotivate us as well?
Well, the certification is a little bit different than this situation. What applies, we're looking at younger families, but just knowing people in general, it all depends on your makeup. My situation, I mean, the 3 of us are all a little bit different areas in our life as far as what the family looks like. My kids are all adults, so I don't really reach out as much to my parents and my siblings, but probably more for the same reason that Kelly gave. There's not that big support, and I think it's because they don't really understand what I do, and they don't really have the need to understand what I do.
Mhm.
My kids are supportive, but as adults, they all have their own life. But if I need something, they're there for me. And my husband is my biggest supporter. So I think every family member is different. Every family dynamic is different. And having friends that support you is great. We all need support. Where you get it from is not as important as getting that support.
Yeah. Yeah. And my father was always the one that was prouder than anyone, no matter what. And I always use this when I describe my father, like the way he was proud of us was, I said this yesterday to the girls on the beach because they were asking a lot. And I said the way that my dad, like I could have robbed a bank and been in jail. And my dad would have been like, but my daughter was so smart in the way she did it. Like you should, like he would find it, and he wouldn't do that, right? I'm just joking, but he found the good in everything. So like he was the only one that really ever asked me about business or like, what are you doing? And he would try to understand what I did. And he would be the one that I would want to talk to when I called home to say something good that I did. Like he's the person I could tell. So it's hard not having anyone to tell that really would even understand or be proud or happy or supportive. So there's some things that you don't say, right? There's certain things that happen to you or you're really proud of, but you don't go on the internet and be like, whatever, right? Or you don't share randomly with friends or employees. There's someone that you can share little wins that's just supportive and proud of you, but it's not like you're going to go out and say, I did this. So that was my dad. That was my dad, like you can say, hey dad, I made this much money, or hey dad, I did this, things that you can't go and tell other people. And your dad's just like, he was just super, super proud. On the other hand, my mom doesn't understand. And she's always looking for something bad in it. So I don't call my mom because everything has always turned into negative, right? Or something. It's whatever it is my fault 100%. So that's kind of the family dynamics. It's tough. I'm 40, I'll be 45 in a week or so. So I'm through it, and I'm understanding that for the rest of my life, it might just be me over here. I'm good. There's no pressure anymore when I go to, there's not a lot we do together, but when we do, I feel no pressure anymore because I just feel like it doesn't matter to me, whatever,
So thank you for sharing that. And there is one more thing that I feel is totally evident from what you say. And I know with Michele, it is very true. You're your own biggest cheerleader. So that is what I feel. So how true is that for you?
Yeah, you have to be, right? So last year was a rough year in lots of things, professionally, but personally, and some things that happened. It was really rough, and it became a big learning year for me. And so some of the things that I learned that are really, really important in going through my journey to try to figure out, like, what am I doing in this life? Where am I? How am I moving forward? And how am I taking care of myself? Because if you can't take care of yourself, you're no good for anyone else. It doesn't matter what you try to do. And so it's not selfish. It's really, really important to take care of yourself. So there's a couple things that I learned. And they're kind of words that I try to live by. So self-care is one. And for me, it's an acronym. And it means, I'm going to read it because it's on my little board here. It means these are things that I do every morning that help me work on me to keep myself focused and going and confident. So I stretch every morning because, I'm almost 45 and I can't work out if I don't stretch now. It's terrible. Okay, so I stretch. That's S. The E is for exercise. The L is for love, which is affirmations. The F is for focus, which is meditation. The C is for cultivate, which is manifestation. The A is for attitude of gratitude. The R is for read, even if it's 5 minutes, you're reading every day. And the E is for exhale, right? So like get rid of whatever it is that you need to get rid of. So I've been doing those things every morning as part of my ritual. So those are all helpful to me to know who I am. A couple other things that I learned last year are intention. Like you really need to be intentional about everything that you do, especially in a business. So my intention, I'm always thinking my intention this year is growth, right? I'm right at the 2-year mark, right about now. So this is my big growth year. Like it has to be this year, or it's going to be harder. The climb's going to be harder. So all of my focus and intention has been on sales and marketing, and my coaches, everyone. That's where they're helping. So everything I do, I got to rethink. Is this helping me? Is it meeting my goals? What am I doing here? So I try not to do things that aren't helpful in that way. Clarity is a big word for me because last year there was a lot of clarity, like you're saying, Shreyas. Like I started to like really realize like who I am, how to get my stuff together, how to get myself moving forward. And then 2 other words that came out of it, a rough experience that I have are patience and compassion. So people hurt people. So when people are not necessarily happy in their lives, or they've got something going on, we've all got something, they sometimes become pretty negative. And so have compassion for them, because the person that cut you off this morning on the road, maybe they're rushing to the hospital because their son's there for, he had a heart attack. Or, maybe the person that, gave you, slammed the door on you, didn't hold the door for you, maybe they have cancer. You just don't know what people are going through. So compassion is really important in life, and patience. So I don't know if you ever tried to separate from this. So if you have ever tried to separate from this, it doesn't last very long. However, if let's say you lose it for a week, which I did last year, your patience is like, at first it's like a drop. You're like, oh my God, oh my God. And then you start to realize there's so many other things that you could be doing. You start to really take note. This helps you with intention. It helps with compassion, and it really helps you to be more patient, because everything right now is immediate gratification. Like, when I was a 16-year-old, we had to go to the library and look things up. Now the teacher asks something, the kids all pull out their phone, they're like, oh, or they ask Alexa, and Alexa's got an answer in 2 seconds. Literally, my son will ask me a question, I'll go, I don't know, ask Alexa. Like, the immediate gratification. So having this away from me was actually really helpful for me to, now I'm not good at it now. I'm still like attached to it. I'm just going to be honest. I am who I am. But it helped me to understand patience. So important. Like, slow down.
It actually is very important, and I feel so glad that I can stay away from my mobile phones, at least for an extended period of time, because my friends are all based in the other part of the world. So when they are sleeping, my phone is usually silent. So that is one way to step away from using your mobile phones. And I really feel it's an important thing that schools in India don't allow mobile devices. So even when I was going to college, I was never allowed to use a mobile phone. So I think that makes it a little bit easier. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I certainly agree on patience and compassion. And there are two more things that I find clearly evident from the experience you just described, which is passion. So passion for what you do, passion for your community, passion for everything else, and perseverance. Because I'm quite sure that the journey for you was not all smooth. It was not all bright. There is always this up and down. So persevering through those challenges, I think, is what has gotten you to a stage where you're employing others and you're helping them lead a successful life. So I just wanted to add those 2 points
Yeah.
into the mix.
And to that point, I think vulnerability is really important. So, and I think that I was just talking to Nick about this, Nick Dorsey, this morning. I think the people are taking themselves less seriously, right? So they're having more video chats where they're more casual, or there's kids, and or because they're always in their home environment, they're able to relate more to people, as whole people. And that is, I love, like, not taking yourself so seriously. You got to be serious about your work, but build your relationships and be vulnerable. Before COVID, like, if my son came to the door and I was on this, I would have been behind the scenes going, like, my hand would have been going crazy, like, don't move, like, don't come in here. And now if he came in, I'd be like, hey, come say hi. It's not a big deal. It is who I am. So I think vulnerability in so many different ways, like just being willing to kind of be yourself and let your guard down, is huge for relationships. Any relationship. But if it's going to be a long-lasting relationship, there's got to be vulnerability.
Absolutely. Michelle, just a clarification. Are we still live? Because I'm just getting a message saying that our show is not live.
I see it says live.
Nothing on my end says we're not, so.
Okay. So probably I think it is just StreamYard messing it up. Because that is right, because people are watching it from the beginning. So they're saying it's not live. But I'm pretty sure we are live.
Well, I think another important factor that goes hand in hand with what you're saying, Kelly, is that really, in addition to being vulnerable, we have to really know ourselves, right? Because we can't truly be vulnerable if we don't really know ourselves. And that helps us in our relationships. So a lot of times we just go through life, family kind of tells us who we are, school kind of tells us who we are, college will kind of tell us who we are. We don't really find ourselves, really connect with our true selves. So actually taking the time to do that, even as an adult, has so much value to help you find your path, help you to have truer, more authentic relationships with people. So I would just encourage anyone, and I think it sounds to me like you have actually done that, but I would encourage anyone who hasn't done that to really take the time to get to know themselves. And I'm not talking about, knowing what your favorite hobbies are, but really knowing what brings you true joy, what activities, what things do you really enjoy doing? How do you want to spend the rest of your life? I think when you made the statements that when Shreyas was asking you about reactions from family when you started your own business, and you said, what was a natural progression? Because people were kind of knowing and seeing you, and you said you knew you had to be in a place where you worked in different industries, where you were challenged, where you where you had the opportunity to learn. You have to know yourself to know that that's where you're going to excel and grow and be happy.
Yeah.
So I think that goes hand in hand with being vulnerable.
Yeah, and I think with age, right? Wisdom with age comes understanding, comes that understanding of who you are. And it happens for me like more so and more so. So I'm an introvert. In real life, I like this. I love this stuff. Video, being at home. I love it. I could do this all day long. In real life, I prefer to be like this. I don't want to be always with people. So sometimes I shy away from social events. But I never really understood why I did that. But as an adult, now that I'm conscious of it, I literally told my girlfriends before I went to see them the day before, I said, don't forget, you've got to hold me accountable for like coming and not trying to make an excuse to get out of this because of whatever social anxiety I have. So I was able to be vulnerable with them and ask them for help. And they held me accountable, like constantly all day in text. And they weren't judging me. They were just saying like, you could come, there's no judgment, like that kind of thing. And so, yeah, it sounds silly because I'm 45 and I need some of that. But work, I'm like, but my personal stuff is different. So it's interesting. The vulnerability is so helpful for people to understand you. Then they don't get disappointed. Like, so if I didn't show up, my girlfriends wouldn't have been they wouldn't have been mad. They wouldn't have been disappointed. They would have been sad they didn't see me, but they would have understood maybe it was because I had anxiety, because I told them that. Not that I just blew them off, but so the vulnerability helped them to understand me.
I just want to extend it by saying that probably you're an external introvert because you do love interacting and engaging with people, but you do that absolutely when it is absolutely necessary. And also it is important to take that ownership and not let others fill in their interpretation just because we don't like to engage in loose talks, because that is what has motivated me to really come online. And Michelle would know me better because when we started having conversation, you would have had her talking a lot and me just nodding my head and just filling in with a couple of words at the most. So I think it is very important for us to take ownership of what our story is, tell it with adding our own perspectives rather than letting some third person fill in their interpretations, because in the end, we don't know. It might not be what we stand for, or it might not hold any truth for us, which in the end, again, can cause misunderstandings and sometimes even frustrates you for having to explain yourself time and again. So that's a good point that you brought in. So let us fast forward to the present, and you have started this wonderful initiative of having this virtual advisory board, so MyVAB. So how did that come about? Talk us through what inspired you to start with.
That's great. I'm so glad you asked about that. So when I was running the last company that I was in, I was mostly focused on, I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So we mostly focused our business in this area. And so when I would be networking, because I ran service delivery, but I had to bring in business. That was part of my job. So I would be out and I would be networking local. So doing lots of coffees, meeting a lot of people. And what happens is I built this really great connection of this really great network. And I would bring them together every 4 to 6 months for breakfast and coffee and just introducing them. So I could see them in the room and I could say, oh my gosh, Michelle, you've got to meet Shreyas. So then I'm connecting people. And then Michelle's saying, so Shreyas, how do you know Kelly? And Shreyas is saying, oh, well, her company does my hiring. And then Michelle says, oh, well, I'm talking to Kelly because we're thinking about hiring them. How did she do? Right? So it's a great thing. So you guys are meeting each other, right? You're helping each other. You're then networking and paying it forward. And so all of these people are meeting. And so when I started my business, I intentionally said, I'm not going to be just focused on Philadelphia. There's a whole big world out there. Like that would be crazy. And then I would just run into my own old company. And I had zero interest in doing that. So I started using LinkedIn a lot. And then I built this amazing network. And I wanted to do something virtual, but still, this is before COVID, people kind of everyone wanted to meet face to face. So when someone says, do you want to have a coffee? I really was like, oh, I don't want to have a coffee, but I will. So I really wanted to ask them, like, can we do a virtual? But can we do a virtual coffee? But they get offended. So then I build my network, nationally, and everything is virtual coffee. Everything is virtual. And so COVID hit, and I was like, this is perfect for me to launch a virtual networking group where no one's going to be offended. They're all going to understand because it's national. This is how it's going to roll, but also this is how life is now. And so it just came to me one day, my VAB, my virtual advisory board, and it's a private online network of entrepreneurs and executives. And it's a great place for us to come and share and learn and engage. And then we do once a month, we have the MyVab Connect, which is there's someone that we either bring in or one of the members will do some kind of knowledge share. And then if we have time, we'll do some networking. I have a My Story podcast, which I'm interviewing folks about their life and their story. So not necessarily work. It's more about their story. Who are they? Where did they grow up? How did they grow up? That kind of stuff, which is really cool. People like that stuff. And then on May 12th, we're going to have our first, like a mini, I don't want to say conference, but I don't know how to put it. But it's called the My Vibe. Vibe stands for, I'm just going to, be myself here. Virtual, inspirational, badass entrepreneurs. Okay. So that's what it stands for. And I'm having folks come and speak. And this is going to be open to anyone, not just my VAB. So not just the members and board members. It's going to be open. Working with Scotty Schindler. He's going to help me put it on, if you guys know him from Australia. So he's going to help me put it on. My co-host is Alex Sheridan, who's amazing. And then I've got people speaking like Michael Ray, Rachel Beck, Scotty is going to speak. So it's pretty awesome. I'm really thankful and excited for it. It's going to be something else. Alon Zybert, one of my faves. Do you know Alon? He's going to speak too. Fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So just make sure you drop in the link on the post as well, so that people can have a look, or you could share it with me and I'll just add it over to the post, and hopefully people can make best use of this and they get some insights. So Kelly, I don't think there has been any guest who is as prepared as you, where you just literally answered 4 themes right on. So just to make it clear, once again, I'll go ahead and ask this question. So what is one thing that you'd like to change for 2021?
For me or in general?
You can answer both. So for you particularly, and then generally, what is one thing you wish to see?
All right. Well, so for 2021, I would like to just get through all this stuff, get over it, right? Just be able to be normal. I think for the kids and for everyone, and just the way the world is right now, it's tough. It feels divided. And for one thing that I often think of in the world is like kids in school. Mine is one of them, who is just sometimes a nice kid that gets picked on a little bit. So I want, as we start to do these videos, this video interaction, and we're seeing people in their real life, and we're starting to see people as whole people, I'm always thinking, we're always having all these conversations, but like, who's having these types of conversations with the kids about being vulnerable and like not needing to think about themselves in such a negative way? You know, my girlfriend that I just saw, her daughter's anorexic. She's in a facility right now. She's been there for 3 months, because of, how she saw herself through other people's eyes. I just wish people could be kinder, but I think it starts with our kids. So how do we do that? I don't know. I don't know. Social media has really crushed that. But for me, like, if I'm thinking like a big thing, I wish we could start with our kids being more self-aware and kind, like take self-care, like be kind to themselves.
Yeah, I would totally attest to what you said about helping our children be more aware. So I think there is a dire need of platforms which caters to children in particular, so that they can have this freedom to share. Because I do understand sometimes children might not be willing to share it with their parents for any number of reasons. So it makes total sense that we come up with a safe platform, a safe environment, which encourages children to speak as well.
Yeah.
So I definitely love to see that happen.
Yeah, no judgment, right? If the kids if they don't feel judged, they will share. But unfortunately, they're judged by their peers every day, all the time. So they're trying to keep up with the peers, and so the vulnerability is not there.
Absolutely. And in addition, I think we have to redefine what performance means, because I strongly believe that it is no longer limited to only academic performance. So it has to be based on talents. And I think now is the right time to start motivating children to follow their dreams very early on and not wait till they become adults or gain experience. Because I can give my own example. I'm still 25, but I coach executives who are 55 years old, which is almost about 30 years of experience. So it's just not about experience nowadays. It is about how well you understand, how well you grasp the situation, and what it is that you can give back to your community. So if you can encourage starting children, I think that would be really better and probably will give us a positive outcome.
Yeah, it's huge.
Sure.
Our kids are huge, right? Because they're going to grow up to be us. So
yeah. Michelle, any thoughts?
Well, yep. Actually, the certification I'm going for, Incredible Family, addresses that particular topic, as I believe that to make the world a better place, we need to start with our families. There's so many broken families, kids left without parents, even if they're both there physically in the house. Kids just don't have their parents today, whether it be because they have the phone, the TV, work, or just putting themselves first. The kids are very much lacking in what they need from their parents. So absolutely. I do agree that they need to be able to be vulnerable, and that peers are nasty and can be very nasty. But if we can raise our children so that they have the inner strength and the inner understanding of themselves, and if we raise them, like Shreyas mentioned, we do our raising of our children with their strengths in mind and encourage our kids to build on what is already good about them instead of focusing on what's wrong and trying to fix them, they'll be much more well adjusted and the world will be a better place because we have stronger families.
And you know where that starts, like so in the home, parents need to have that self-care. So ever since I've been doing this self-care thing every morning and this ritual and like taking care of myself and getting it out, when my son Eric is here, we have date nights, like two nights a week, maybe 3 nights, where we are just sitting together and we laugh because we both try to put our phones away. And then we're doing something, we laugh. Like, how many times did you reach for your phone? Well, I already reached for it 5, but it wasn't there. So, but we watch movies, we watch comedians, we do all kinds. We're watching sitcoms again. We're watching Seinfeld again. We've watched Alf. We've watched The Cosby Show. We've watched, you name it. Like, we watch it. All the old stuff, which has been really fun. Who's the Boss? We just do that kind of stuff together, and it's really nice. But the better I take care of myself, the better I am in even wanting to have that time. It makes a big difference.
It sure does. So, Kelly, thank you for giving us your time and for sharing your story and being on the hot seat for the last 1 hour. And this is where the twist happens. So you get to put either Michelle or me or both in the hot seat. And if you have any questions for us, please do go ahead and ask. We will try to answer it to our best of the abilities.
So Shreyas, I love that you talked about coaching people with a lot more experience. How do you find those? Like, how are those discussions? I'm just wondering, because that is a big difference.
Initially, it was really tough because it took some time for me to convince myself that I was having this ability to coach people who have experience which is much more than my age. So it all boils down to my self-belief. And I just, after engaging with a few executives, I realized that it was my limiting belief, that probably it was that nagging voice, that gremlin which said I was not prepared well enough. But in reality, no executive really asked how old I was. They didn't ask what certifications I had. And in the end, it was just about having someone to listen to them, because that is what I found was really lacking. So these executives, they were so deep into their work that no one really bothered about what they wanted. So that is where the shift happened. So just by being there, just by allowing myself to be there for them, to be present in the moment, I think that is what started showing that transformation. And it helped me indirectly as well to grow in confidence, to understand that I had the skills and that I couldn't make a mistake. So it was not that I was intentionally telling myself that I wasn't ready to coach people, to coach executives in particular. So it helped me release those limiting beliefs, gremlins, assumptions, and interpretations that I had developed. Probably unconditionally, it was not my intention to have those things, but coming in from a very traditional and orthodox Indian mindset where we are told that the elders are right and you never question them. So that is something that I have always been tuned into. So I think that is where that assumption came in. And I'm really glad I took up coaching. I got certified. I went through an extensive 1-year course, which I recently graduated last week, and I got my CPC, which is Certified Professional Coach, which adds that extra. Thank you. So it adds that extra credibility, makes my coaching methods authentic because it is now a certified coaching methodology that I use. It's no longer something that has been experimented with. So having that confidence really makes a good impact both on myself and the executive.
I love that. So beliefs, as you know, are formed very early. And so that's the core of everything, right? You've got to change that. So those disempowering thoughts that are really like disempowering beliefs, and you've got to change those. Once you get those, you're good. So that's awesome. Michelle, what made you want to get into coaching?
Actually, for me, it was taking the Clifton Strengths Assessment and getting my results. I then realized that the path that I had been in for 30 years was not a good fit. It was something I could do, but I never really felt fulfilled doing. And when I went through the certification, I actually went through the certification to implement Clifton Strengths in our parish. I realized that coaching is really in line with my innate talents, and I love helping people, and I get the greatest joy from seeing people succeed. Not so much that I'm successful, but to see them reach their potential and to see them realize that they have value.
Isn't that amazing? I love that. Yeah. I love seeing them soar and take off and do really awesome things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they give you the feedback like, well, you pushed me to do this and I did, and then here I am. So it's really awesome to see them thrive when they don't always know that they can, and sometimes they just need a little validation and push. It's like that's why I have coaches. Mm-hmm. You know, everyone needs something.
Yes.
So that's awesome.
Very true. And Carmen, I'm really glad that you're trying to stay intentional and spend quality time with your son. And thanks for showing up. So you're well past the 1 hour mark. Kelly, thank you once again. It's been inspirational and motivational to listen to your experiences and learn how to stay positive and persevere through the challenges. And I'm sure our audience will also appreciate the fact that you shared your story to inspire them to take action. Any closing thoughts before we wind up?
I think it's important. The vulnerability piece is important because, just like you said, the inspiring to take action, that's what it takes. When you see someone else being vulnerable, it makes you understand, like, oh, I can be vulnerable too. That doesn't mean I'm weak. That means I'm being authentic. People resonate with that. So I like that you said that. I think that's very true.
Well, I've certainly appreciated this discussion and really enjoyed everything you've shared and learning more about you. How do people find you? We know you're active on LinkedIn, but tell everybody how they can find you.
Yeah, so I am very active on LinkedIn. So I'm at Kelly Robinson. My LinkedIn URL is KROB, KROB. They can also go to my website, which is pannaknows.com. So it's PANNAKNOWS.com to learn more about what we do or schedule a call with me. I'm happy to talk to anyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, it's been a pleasure having you with us, and thank you to all those who showed up live and those who will be catching us on the replay. It will be great if you could drop in your thoughts in the comments, and we will make sure we pass on any questions that you may have on hiring and recruitment to Kelly and get it answered for you. Mm-hmm. So, Michelle, do you want to let our audience know why the next week's episode is very special?
Oh, next week we're going to be having several guests. I will be making a post, scheduling it later today, so you'll get to see the list of special guests we have. It won't be just one person, so you won't want to miss it.
Yes, and that would be our finale episode of season 1. And we are so glad to have shared this journey with our amazing guests who have gracefully accepted our invitation. And Kelly, thank you once again. On that note, please take care. We will be meeting you again next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Summertime. So please take care and stay safe.
Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you so much.